Welcome again to Mission Alive. The last 2 days we've been talking about some of our past missionaries, Bishop Des Moore and Brother Ted Merritt, one who worked for many years in Papua New Guinea and Brother Merritt who worked in Northern Territory. Today I want to talk about two bishops from Papua New Guinea, specifically from Rabaul. When I came into the office here, in the drawer was this bishop's cross, which is a bit distinctive in that it has the Sacred Heart in the middle and these four spikes around the outside. I was trying to identify them, and after inquiries in different places and getting no results, I decided to Google some old photos that I had of bishops. And then here in Kensington from the archives, the archivist gave me access to some photos. And I was able to identify certainly that this cross was worn by Bishop Vestas, who was bishop from 1926 to 1939. He was in fact the second bishop of Rabaul, the first being Bishop Louis Coupet. Then that same cross has been worn by Bishop Schumacher, who succeeded him, and I think was his coadjutor bishop before he died. Bishop Vestas died here in Sydney and is buried up at Douglas Park at our house up there out of Sydney. So I'm presuming, and it's only speculation, that Bishop Schumacher was here for the funeral and took over the cross. So I've been able to get these two photos of the two men, and you can see the cross there, and in the photo, if we blow it up a bit, then we can see clearly it is the same cross. So just an interesting little story, and there was a ring that was also here in the office in the same plastic bag as the cross. Just an interesting little side track on history, but there it is. So the two succeeding bishops wore the same pectoral cross. Now, what is now the Archdiocese of Rabaul was formed in 1889 as the Vicariate Apostolic of New Britain from that of Melanesia and Micronesia. Then the next step it was from the Apostolic Vicariate of New Pomerania and New Britain. It became that of Rabaul, and then in 1966 became the Archdiocese of Rabaul. That date in 1966 is significant. It was when all the church in Papua New Guinea moved from being vicariates, mission vicariates, to being dioceses. So all the dioceses at that time were declared dioceses or archdioceses on 1966. So a few years ago, 2016, a lot of the dioceses had major celebrations to celebrate that. There's one or two dioceses up there who came into being after that date, were split off from another diocese. So we have these interesting facts of history, and it means the church moves on, and it is usual progress when mission areas are started that they are vicariates, and then they are cut off from another area and then eventually become a diocese. So I'm not sure today whether we have that sort of mission situation anywhere in the world, but it could be worth some research. Into that, why Bishop Vestas would have been died here. In the beginning, when the French came through to establish the mission in Melanesia and Micronesia, and that was their mandate, to evangelize Melanesia and Micronesia. They knew they had to establish a base here in Australia, and they did that here in Sydney. And we took on the diocese of Botany, the parishes of Botany and that of Randwick, and we are still at Randwick today. But part of that was also to have a place for missionaries to stay when they were going through, or when they were sick, and also established a supply line to supply the missions with whatever was needed. And that procurature is over in Randwick, where we still have our provincial house. Also, this monastery here on the hill, which was built on a sand dune, which must have been very surprising for people at the time, that why these Frenchmen would go out there into the sand dunes and build this monastery, was again a place for missionaries to come to, particularly when they were sick. It was up on the hill, it got a lot of wind, it was dry, so it was good for recovery against malaria and other tropical ailments. So there's all that kind of history in there. And all these people were men of their time, made decisions according to what they saw as the right thing at the time, and proceeded to do it. And they did monumental work in building up, well, the buildings and the establishment, but also building up the church wherever they were. So there we go, a little bit of story. The mission is alive today. It has been alive for a long time. And all of these people I spoke about were very active in promoting the mission and making it alive. So once again, we just look at our two men, Bishop Festus and Bishop Schumacher.